Oh baby, we are in free skin time. If there's one thing I love in games, it is free dragons and free skins. And my god, we've actually got it. Where is he? Where is the beautiful boy, Gaylord? Where's his skin? There we go. There is his Drag King skin. Of course, we managed to get this mostly just via doing the regular events and also by getting butterflies out of the arena. If you're still looking to get some more butterflies, you can still get some. I believe there's still another butterfly coming in the daily logins. And then if you're still low on butterflies, you can indeed get them from the arena. You just got to remember that you got to finish off the entire chest, and it's not guaranteed, but you can potentially get a drop of either of these. But we're about to get the queen skin. I'm sure that will be tomorrow, but I just wanted to start off with that because I love free skins in games. The other thing I wanted to talk about mainly is this Midsummer dragon event, because Midsummer, you know, he's an interesting looking dragon. I quite like him. But mainly for this dragon and puzzle events in general, you'll see that we've got 3 days left. And towards this part of the event, this is where puzzle events start to slow down quite a bit. And I think a lot of people end up basically just not logging in as frequently and not doing as many other quests because they get kind of bummed out with it. But this is the really important part, because you've probably been doing tons of breeding, tons of arena and league battles and quest battles, or maybe you don't know what the heck's going on in general. But, you know, some people end up finishing off the, say, for instance, the new mythical dragon within the first day or within the first couple of days of these events. And it's mainly to do with a lot of pre-planning and also making sure that they know which of these quests are the best ones to do. And so, if I go through the actual quests in this event first, just to give you an example, the winning quest battle section of this event. If you're someone that still has the regular quests available in Dragon City, you actually have a major advantage, because if you look at my quests, all of the regular quests for me are done. Done. And when you get to this stage in the game, there are no more of these. You don't get any other quests to make up for it, nothing. So players that have finished off all of their quests actually have a big disadvantage during puzzle events. So if you've got your regular quests available, I highly recommend not speeding through them. So for instance, if you're up to the Magician quest, just only use your quest drops for puzzle events. That would be my biggest tip to you if you can. Because otherwise, you're going to get to this stage and not going to have any additional quests to do. Now, of course, the other thing that you can do during this time frame is getting the required things that you need for dragons, such as High Destiny, to be able to do their quests. But of course, for High Destiny, we would need E4 for stage 19 and 20, which is a lot to ask just for some additional points in this. And so when you get to a point like this in these quest battles, and also to this point where you need to get 3 quest battles done in order to get any of your puzzle moves, one thing that you can do, and is one of the best things that you can do in terms of gem spending in this event, if you choose to do it, is you can actually skip these quests. So when you skip these quests, you'll see that this one, the skipping win quest battles, is 3 gems. And when you skip this, you're going to get 2 other quests to do, which is collecting gold, which is really, really super duper easy. And then the other one is feeding dragons, which, assuming you are not completely food broke, is actually quite easy. You just feed up a dragon using the minimal amount of food possible. And then you'll come back to the winning quest battle stage. So you can use this for 8 additional moves if you are like super desperate for a specific reward in puzzle events, and it's actually not too expensive. Of course, if you have to do it tons and tons and tons because you're way behind, yeah, that's going to be expensive. But if you are going to gem just to ensure that you get a specific reward that you're close to, it is possible to do it with that quest. The other quests that I mainly want to talk about are these 2 breeding quests, because we're at the stage here where the plus 15 quest is with Terror plus War, and the plus 25 stage is Nature and War. And you'll see I've done a singular breed of Nature and War, mainly just to give you an example of how long these breeds can take. But Nature and War breeding is very long. Very, very long. And the other one, which is Terror plus War, is actually quite a lot, I guess, reduced in terms of the overall time that they take. Like, of course, we've got Colossal, which is still quite a considerable amount of time, but it's really not too bad considering the difference between that and the other quests. So usually if you're going to be going through puzzle events, it's better to ignore the plus 25 quests and you should just focus on the plus 15s. If you've got permanent speed up happy hour, the breeding and hatching quests in general will become much, much easier. So like in my case, because of the changes to the ads that happened recently, because before I used to have limited 12-hour skips, now I don't. And I've got permanent 12-hour time skips now. So thank you, Social Point, for giving those back to me. But some people lost them. But it means that when there's only 12 hours left on a breed or a hatch, I can skip that, which is going to be useful for the last 12 hours of any of these hatches right here. But if you are someone that is looking for the most efficient things to be breeding, it is normally better to go with the plus 15s during this event and not the plus 25s. Also from this event, we got this adorable little home dragon. I absolutely love this dragon, so I am so happy that this dragon finally came in this event. And I don't know why, but they've got tons of legs. They're like a little centipede dragon. It's very weird. But regardless, I just really want to stress the fact that if you're wondering why you're being held back so much in this event and you're not getting as many points as other people, well, puzzle moves, might be because you're focusing on these plus 25 breeds and hatches. Of course, if you just gem it all, you can get tons of stuff out of this event, but that's actually going to end up being quite expensive because if you try and skip these, it's going to be 8 per, and then the other mission is just going to be a hatch for that anyway, so you're not really going to gain much through skipping these quests. The ones that you can skip are going to mainly be the top 2 win quest battles and the winning battles in, say, arena or league. But the thing is, if we were to, say, skip winning battles in the arena, we're going to end up coming back to this quest anyway. And in terms of my arena battles, you'll see that we've only just gotten a new arena battle back. So there's not really a lot of point to gemming these unless we can come back and actually get, like, all of them done again. So I guess that is just some general advice. Of course, with the arena and league battles as well, if you're ever going to consider gemming some of them, you have to make sure that you can, you know, actually do them. Because if you can't actually do them, then it's going to be pointless you ever gemming them or even looking at them, really. But in terms of the arena battles as well, if you are someone that struggles in your arena battles, you probably should be D-ranking between arena chess, as in alliance chess, and between puzzle events, because otherwise when you come to these arena battles, like now, you're going to end up really, really struggling with them. So I would highly suggest that if you do struggle with your arena battles, that you go ahead and you D-rank between any of the major events. Now, you don't have to, and if you want to just go for like those Joker orbs at the end of the season, like in Master 3, for instance, or Master 1, you can do that, but just be aware that your alliance may hate you a little bit, and you may hate yourself during puzzle events because of what you've done. And in terms of league battles, I have made a whole guide on how you can basically get to a point in the game where you never have to worry about your league battles again because all of the enemies cap at level 40, and so when you get to that stage of the game, basically you don't even really have to think about league battles ever again. Like, I just put most of my league battles on autoplay these days, which sometimes I'll end up getting destroyed by a random High Master Karma that blocks the attacks 700 times, but outside of that, the actual league battles for me are just free low. Like, main thing is making sure that you get to a good stage. Like, this is a really good position to be in because now when we get our next fight refill, we can do these 2 battles using those 3 energy that we'll get, and then we're going to get a refresh and be able to do 3 more battles, which means that we can actually do 5 league battles in a row. So we can get the next league battle quest set done, and then we can just go straight onto arenas again. So in that case, I'd usually want to refrain from gemming for that reason, just because we're going to get basically a free refresh anyway, and I don't want to waste 9 gems. Sure, we'll get some back, but eventually we're going to hit the maximum point in leagues, and this is quite similar to quest battles. Once you reach the maximum side of leagues, it costs a ton to gem them. And I'm talking like in the 20s mark if you want to refill. So the further you are into leagues is also a big problem. So leagues is another thing where I'd highly recommend not actually doing them unless they're actually related to some kind of event. There are a few things in this game like that, which I would really hope that they would change one day, but we're not at that stage quite yet. So the other thing about the puzzle events is, of course, the board itself, but outside of the board, we did also have the maze event, which had the puzzle pieces in it, or puzzle moves, which had Crested Fae, and you'll see that, yes, I did indeed do the entire path for Crested Fae, wherever it is. I don't know where it is, I can't find it. Either way, it was the green one, and we did the whole path for Crested Fae. We got all of the extra puzzle moves for Crested Fae. And that's something that you can do if you want to hit a specific reward in the puzzle event and you're not sure that you can do it without actually finishing the path and getting the bonus puzzle moves. Thing is, if you can do it without, then that's going to mean you're going to have bonus maze event currency. And having bonus maze event currency is pretty good because then you can spend it on, you know, a different path. Like, I recently have been on the key path, which initially I wasn't sure if I was going to do. But I'm on the key path mainly because there's a few dragons from this that I don't actually have yet, such as Firefighter, and I don't have White Alien yet, so I might end up finishing their paths, to be honest. But the other thing is because we had some heroic essence on this tile here, and I'm very desperate for a little bit more heroic essence so that then we can empower our High Destiny dragon, because we're getting very, very close to being able to empower High Destiny, and then that would also help us with the quests if we end up doing them. But you'll see we're at 340 out of 560. We need another 50 orbs for High Destiny, so if we keep ranking her up and if we get a couple more bits of heroic trade essence, we should be able to actually E4 her before her quests are done. But that's going to depend on whether I actually get the trades or not. So there's a few different things that you have to consider going into puzzle events. And then we have the actual board itself and how you can play it. Of course, it's basically just Candy Crush. But one thing I did want to mention regarding the star, some people do talk about this, but if you ever get two stars next to each other, if you pop them together, they will actually blow up the entire board. But usually it's not always the best idea to do this, because the thing is, if you match up a star on the board with a specific color, it will knock out all of those colors on the board. And the benefit to doing this is that by knocking out a specific color, it makes it a hell of a lot more likely that you'll be able to create 4+ combinations of other colors, or at least if not 4+ combinations, you can make combos of other colors anyway that maybe you wouldn't have been able to before. But it is really important to try and make as many 4s and 5s as you can, because they clear the whole row basically. Another thing to consider is that if you move the lowest tiles on a board, for instance, let's move these tiles here, it moves everything above it on the board, whereas if you were just to move the ones at the top, it's only going to move like, what, a couple of tiles? So that's another thing to keep in mind, at least when you are doing these events, that like, if the lower you are when you're moving things on the board, the more things are actually going to move, which can be useful in some situations, and it's something that you should always take into account when you're matching things up. Another thing about puzzle events is that people do talk about efficiency in puzzle events, which is fine. You can work out essentially how efficient you've been, but the thing is, it is very much, a lot of it is dependent on RNG on top of you preparing for like 4 drops or 5 combos on here. And so some people may be way ahead of you in far less moves, but that could also be down to you just getting really screwed over by RNG. So even if your efficiency ends up being really bad, for example, maybe it's not your fault, maybe it is, there is a way to work it out. But in general, you can spend like tons and tons of time like analyzing, oh, if I move this one here and move this one here, oh, what's it going to do to all of these other tiles? And you can be stuck on these boards for ages and ages and ages if you want to. But I think that a lot of players probably will just end up just basically just matching the specific items, not really thinking too much. Maybe you'll end up focusing on a specific you know, like if you really want to get to the 2k maze coins, maybe you'll be really trying your best to match all of the grapes and the pineapples in 4s, but usually it doesn't really matter too much. There's going to be a bit of variance, and you know, in terms of moves, like roughly 800 moves should get you the mythical dragon, but again, it depends on how your general gameplay goes and how efficient you get in terms of, you know, basically number of bananas or whatever cleared for the moves that you're making, which the more items that you're clearing per move, like if you can clear, say this one, you'll get a 4, and then if you manage to get another 3 and another 3 and another 3, basically just comboing, which is pretty basic for an event like this, and just, you know, games like Candy Crush and this one in general. So it is important for you to think about these things, and you're not always going to be the most efficient ever. But more or less it's just going to depend on how many moves you've got. So if you're at this stage in the game, say you've got like this many moves left, you're getting very close to Midsummer, you're getting close to the 2000 maze coins, but you really want to make it to the mythical egg chest, for instance. Some people go for the Titan egg chest. Then you really have to be focusing on getting these breeds done. And now in terms of the breeds themselves, that's going to mean you need to be getting breeds done in more or less 2 to 3 of your breeding dens, ideally 3 of them. And the way that you can triple check what is actually coming up. So for instance, we've got hatching quests for Terra and War at the moment, which means that realistically we need to get the hatching done for them. But you can start pre-breeding for the next upcoming one. And you can always triple check this by using Ditlep, for instance, because if we open up the Ditlep page, it shows you all of the upcoming rewards and the fact that they're going to loop after a certain point. But it also shows you which dragons you can hatch for the plus 15 and the plus 25 quests. And you'll see that when we get to the point where it's hatching the Earth and War dragons, it will just start looping again. So that's what is going to happen after that. Once we get to the stage where we're at plus 25 plant plus war, even though I don't really recommend doing the plus 25s, or at least not a ton of them, it's going to be plant plus war, hatching plant plus war. And then the next one after that is pure and ice, which is another yikes, big yikes one to have to do, because again, super long breeding times with the pure dragons. So then that's pure and ice, pure and ice. Then it goes to metal and primal, which actually isn't too bad. But then it will start looping again. So those are those quests. You'll always know which breed or hatch quest is coming up if you use these websites. I do highly recommend using them, because then it means that you can go into your breeding den and pre-breed the next upcoming thing, basically, is what you can do. So, you know, that is your choice if you want to do that or not. I ended up getting a really short breed on Terra plus War and then a really long one, so I just ended up finishing off that breed because I was getting a bit impatient and I wanted the bonus moves. But we still have these eggs that will be ready soon-ish. It'll be in time for the event easily, and we'll still have a couple of days left to get more breeding and hatching done. But it's just one of those things, pre-breeding, and especially pre-breeding before the event begins, is a really good way to stack up lots of bonus event puzzle moves, which I think is really, really important and is one of the main deciding factors between those players that do well in the event and those players that do really well in the event. Because like some players just do really, really well in every single puzzle event they ever do. Other players, you know, they'll get the mythical dragon and pretty much nothing else, which is still a good place to be in because, of course, one of the main rewards of this event is the mythical dragon itself. So there's that. I guess the other thing to mention is that some of these special tiles, like you'll see this grape here, which is going to explode all the tiles around it. It is actually possible to get some tiles and some combinations where if you mix them together, they'll do a bigger board clear. And certain things, like if you've got an L shape, then again, you'll create a tile that gives a mini square board clear as well. If you're not aware of those things, I'm sure players that have played these events before have picked up on some of these things. But for players that aren't too familiar with the puzzle events, you can make different types of tiles, but definitely with those rainbow tiles, I would highly suggest that you do not double clear with them. Pretty much like 90 to 95% of the time, it's going to be better if you just, you know, link them to a specific color instead, so that then you can increase your chances of getting bigger board clears and things like that. But anyway, I guess that is my general advice to you. I'm going to end up using the rest of my currency here, and I guess we'll see what we get out of it. Well, there he is. There is Mr. Midsummer, and we're very close to getting the 2k maze coins as well. So for me, this is mostly most of the stuff that I want to get out of this event. We could push for the mythical egg chest. We'll keep doing our daily resets, our regular breeds, and all of the, you know, general reset stuff that we can. Of course, there's insignias as well that we'll probably want to pick up. But for the most part, you know, that is basically how people manage to get the mythical egg chest and things like that unlocked, and also get their hands on the new mythical dragon in every puzzle event. Even if you've got 3 days to spare, there's tons and tons of extra time that you have in this event to be able to achieve this, and especially if you have permanent speed ups. Again, like I said, the hatching and breeding is just so much easier than without, so you'll end up finishing much sooner than those that are unfortunately screwed in terms of their speed up situation. But you'll see that after we get the 5 heroic jokers, it just becomes food, and this is actually quite good because we could end up getting a couple of jackpots out of this as well. So honestly, I am not gonna be too upset if we get some of these mystery food boxes as well, but my main goal is usually gonna be the maze coins, mythical egg chest, celebration chest. Personally, those are the things that I normally go for. Of course, it depends on how well you do in these events, how many puzzle moves you get, and also a little bit of luck in terms of the items that drop down and in what order. But we will keep going on and grinding. But I guess for now, I appreciate you joining me here today. Good luck with all of your quests and everything else, and until next time, ciao.